Coming up on today's Chiefs Report, Mecole Hardman has successful groin surgery. What does that mean for his impending free agency? We'll explore that. Also, are the Chiefs going to re-sign both JuJu Smith-Schuster and Orlando Brown? And Pro Football Focus put out some free agency predictions. Couple of players they linked with Kansas City. We'll explore all of that and more on today's show. But first, we are in an epic subscriber battle with our Miami Dolphins channel, who is hosted by Will Scott. He's been talking a lot of trash this week. We're 14 subs down. Got to beat Dolphins today to 40,000 subscribers. We're 418 away. Who's with me? Hit that sub button. Can't be losing to the damn Dolphins. Let's go. Subscribe for more Chiefs news and rumors videos. All right, I am Harrison Graham. Let's jump into today's video. Mecole Hardman had surgery on Tuesday. Put out a little short about it yesterday, but we'll talk about it a little bit more here on today's show. He posted this photo yesterday as he was going into surgery. He had that pelvic injury all year and just had to clean up a groin issue that he was dealing with. Tried to come back in the AFC title game. Obviously, that did not last very long. You look at his career here. He's played out his rookie contract with Kansas City and definitely did some good things. Like, he was a guy that 3, 4, 5 games a year, he had a big impact. He wasn't a week-to-week impact player, but he's the type of guy that you get the ball in his hands, he can change a game with the single play, whether it's on a punt return or within the flow of an offense. He is set to be a free agent here in 2023, and look, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if this injury impacts his status at all. I mean, does that lower how much he's going to make? I mean, by all accounts, he should be ready for next season, but maybe he misses some OTAs, some of the offseason stuff for whatever team he does end up playing for. We'll just have to wait and see on that front. Now, after I ask you guys this question, I'll kind of give my opinion on where he could play, if he'll return to Kansas City, but I do want to get you guys involved in the show first. Should the Chiefs re-sign Mecole Hardman? Type Y for yes, type in for no. You're about to get hit with a YouTube ad break, so if the ad break comes, reply to the pinned comment by typing Y for yes or in for no when it comes to Hardman. Here's my take. I'll be honest. I'd be shocked if Hardman returns next season for a couple of reasons. One, while he's been a good player, he never really took that major leap. Like, he never became someone who was a number 1 receiver. I don't even think he's really a true number 2. He's like a really good number 3 / versatile gadget guy. Like, he's more than a gadget guy because he's a decent route runner and he's a good punt returner. He can do some different things, but he just never really became that guy that he had 1,000 yard seasons or 1,000 yards in one season. He never really elevated to that level. Now, obviously, he played with some really good players and didn't get the targets he would have gotten elsewhere, but I do think that there is a bit of a ceiling there. And look, when you look at the depth chart, Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, why would you bring back Hardman? Like, look, if it's cheap, okay, fine, but he might get $10 million from someone. Like, I just don't see what his role would even end up being on this offense. I think Kadarius Toney might take off in 2023. Sky Moore came on late last year, and they have similar skill sets to Hardman. They can both be punt returners. They can both do different things within the flow of the offense. I just don't think re-signing Hardman makes sense, quite frankly, for either side. If I'm Mecole Hardman, I'm probably looking to move on as well, cash in elsewhere, and look for a bigger role on a different team. So we'll see. Best of luck to him either way. If his market dries up and he's back for $5 million, okay, great. That's another weapon in the disposal, but I don't think there's really an avenue that makes sense where Hardman re-signs with the Chiefs. Now, could JuJu and Orlando Brown re-sign? ESPN predicts that Kansas City will re-sign both of these players. Of course, JuJu played on a 1-year deal this year for Kansas City, and honestly, if you told me before the signing that this is what you would get out of JuJu, I would have said, hell yeah, it's a great deal. Now, you would have liked him to find the end zone more, but he was mostly healthy, suffered some minor stuff throughout the season, was dinged up in the playoffs, but found a way to play through it. Still had 78 grabs for 933 yards and 3 touchdowns. I'd like to bring JuJu back. I've never said I wouldn't like to bring him back, but what I have said, in a thin wide receiver market, I mean, JuJu could get $16, $18, $20 million per year. Like, is Brett Veach going to allocate $18 million per year for JuJu? It seems unlikely. Like I just don't think the Chiefs are in a position to go that route. They've got some depth at receiver. They could sign, a different player. They could get someone in the NFL draft. I love JuJu. If you can get him for $12 million, I would bring him back. I just don't think that's going to be super likely. Now, I do expect Orlando Brown to be in the fold, whether it's on a long-term deal or on the franchise tag. He's been a little up and down, but certainly more of a net positive than negative in his 2 seasons in Kansas City. You look at the PFF grades there, pretty similar production. Finished both seasons strong. If he could just start each season strong, he'd be one of the best tackles in football. He just has been a little inconsistent. I think he likely gets tagged, and then, like last year, they'll negotiate a long-term deal, and we'll see if each side can reach a deal before that July 15th deadline. But that franchise tag window is open right now, and I do think that he is a prime candidate for that. I do think, as much as I like what JuJu did this year, Orlando Brown has to be a priority if you have to decide between these 2 guys. Now, who returns next season? Do you think it's going to be Orlando Brown, type OB? If you think it's JuJu, type JuJu. I think it's both. Type B or type B for both down in the comment section below. I think Brown is much more likely to return, but I do think there's a path where both come back. Get your votes in the comments section. How about Michael Thomas, especially if JuJu does not return to Kansas City? Pro Football Focus predicts that the Chiefs will sign Michael Thomas. Now, technically, he's still under contract with New Orleans, but the expectation is that he will be cut because there's just brutal financial ramifications if he's on the Saints roster for next season. So that is very unlikely. Now, maybe they come to some sort of major restructuring agreement. We'll see, but I do think he'll get cut, and for good reason, right? I mean, the last 3 seasons, he just hasn't been available that much. He's played in 10 total games over the last 3 years, missed all of 2021, played in just 3 games this year, played in just 7 games in 2020, and it's a shame because after 2019, when he had just this unreal season, 149 catches, 1,700-plus yards, and 9 touchdowns, I mean, some people thought he was the best receiver in the NFL. For sure was top 5, but injuries have held him back the last 3 years. Incentive-based deal for Michael Thomas. I mean, he's still in his late 20s. It's not like he's 35 and completely cooked. I think if he's healthy, he's still a pretty good player. I don't know if he's a true number 1. I think he would have to prove that at this point, but he's certainly very talented. Look at what he did in his first 4 years, and I get it. He had Drew Brees, Sean Payton, friendly, wide receiver-friendly offense, but Kansas City is that as well. I mean, if he's healthy, you bring him here. There's no reason why he can't be a 1,000-yard guy. I mean, he averaged, what is that, about 1,400 yards and 8 touchdowns per season in his first 4 years. I mean, that is incredible production, well over 100 catches per year as well. So I'm pulling for Michael Thomas. I hope he gets back to being one of the premier receivers in the sport. And I'd like to see the Chiefs take a chance here. I mean, this could be this year's version of JuJu, where Thomas just needs to hit the reset button, sign a 1-year deal with the Chiefs, and then look to cash in next year, just like JuJu's probably looking to do this offseason. Should the Chiefs sign Michael Thomas? I would do it. Type S for sign or P for pass. Let me know what the kingdom is thinking. I would take a chance on him. I think it's certainly worthwhile if you are Kansas City. Now, PFF also linked Marcus Davenport to the Chiefs, which I'm a little less certain on this one, just because early in his career, people thought he was a bust. 2021, in just 11 games, he has this really good season where he had 9 sacks, 16 QB hits, but then you compare it to this year when he's fully healthy, played all year, just didn't do anything. Half a sack. QB hits cut in half, and albeit that's playing 5 more games this year. He played 16 games this year, 11 games last year, and he was much better, much more productive in 2021. I don't know what happened to Davenport this year. He fell off. I mean, the numbers don't lie. I mean, he fell off big time this year. I don't know how to explain it. Now, if it's like a cheap, like 1 year, $5 million deal or something, but some team's probably going to throw 10, 12, 14 million at him because be like, oh, look at what he did in 21. He's still young. He's athletic. We can get him back on track. I don't think you can overpay for Marcus Davenport. I would much rather try to work out some restructuring with Frank Clark. Like I would rather try to keep Frank Clark in the fold than sign Davenport. Carl Loftus should take another step next year. Call me crazy. I'd rather sign Carlos Dunlap for cheap to be a rotation guy than go get Davenport on an overpriced deal. I just don't think that is good business for Kansas City, and I'd be a little surprised if Brett Veach overpaid for a guy like Davenport, as he's a pretty smart GM. All right, lots of free agency buzz here on today's show. Appreciate you guys who made it to the end of the video. If you did, you're a real one. And if you didn't make it to the end and haven't subscribed, I encourage you to do so because I don't want to lose the Dolphins today as we race to 40,000, and we bring you daily videos for free. So help us out just a little. I would appreciate it. We'll see you next time here on the Chiefs Report.